Hello, everybody. Michael Gracia here. Just give me a minute. I'm going to go share this that I'm going live right now. Um, Let me do this on Facebook real quick. Going live on YouTube. I don't know what the heck's going on with my keyboard. Why is. All right. And send. All right. I'm also going to be just sharing this on my phone, quicker to do on Instagram. It's unfortunately the way this works here is I couldn't share right away for some reason. Let's go get my YouTube. So I'm going to be doing some drawing in a few minutes, and I wanted to just talk and share about it. Like talk about what I'm drawing, why I'm doing certain things. Um, Let me just grab a picture to use. I'll just use this one. Um, YouTube. Now. I know it takes a few moments. Um, I'm just giving people a few minutes to. Um, all right, let's get down. So, anyway, I'm sorry, I was just sharing this to some places. Let me talk about what I want, what I'm doing right now. I'm going to share my drawing board. Let's see. Hopefully that works out well. Let's do it this way. Let's switch it and put me down in the corner here. All right. And can I move myself over? Nope. It's a switch. All right. So I might have to move the drawing paper over. Um, Wrong way. Okay. So I think I need to not mirror the camera. I'm still learning things here about what do you call it here? Uh, Restream, and I thought it gives me the option to mirror video settings. That should remove me from there. How does that look when I draw? Oh, okay, now I'm in the right setup here. Um, so I'm working, excuse me, wow. I'm working on something right now that requires me to be drawing some characters that I don't own, and I don't normally do that, but it's not a piece that I'm going to sell anyway. So I just want to draw, and I want to practice. And I feel like this angle may not be good for you. It's a one of the I like to have a little higher angle when I draw, but I'll lower the table so you can see it a little better. Um, so one of the characters is one of my favorite. It's the Phantom from Lee Falk's The Phantom. Is there a mark? That's a mark on the TV or on my screen. And I want to try. It doesn't have to be exactly accurate, but I want to try to get it as accurate as possible. I'm going to bring this down. And I know the Phantom has changed a bit in drawing style since the creation of him, and back when he was created, um, you know, people wore their waistline higher. The way people's to look strong was a little different. People were more barrel chested. So I kind of want to try to keep that look, but incorporate a bit of my style and a bit of and a bit of something a little bit modern. Hey, Sebastian, how you doing, man? Haven't seen you or talked to you in a while. I've been meaning to reach out. Actually, I saw you post or do a video or something. Was it a few days ago? And I just haven't had the opportunity. I've had a busy work schedule. I know that you can't see the legs unless I fix over here. And I feel like also back then when they drew the characters, their legs were really long, or at least their thighs were. Um, Also, like I said, the waist, I feel like the underwear was the superhero underwear because, these are based on, where's my eraser? Not there. Oh, I feel it. There it is. Um, Kind of based on more of like a circus performer. So sometimes they had long torsos. I don't think originally he did. I know you can't see the feet. Let me bring the drawing up a bit. What I'm doing. I've been busy. I've been really tired. I'm glad to hear you were doing good. Um, Better to talk about stuff off the air, how crazy things have been for me. But since I did mention it a couple of times on some of my posts, I did have a health scare recently. Everything's fine, but that took a lot of my time. And what I'm looking at, I don't know, just so you know, and I can see he has a little bit longer of a torso. Where are my glasses so I can? What I do? This is my life. Oh, there it is. Um, what I'm actually looking at, I have some classic prints of classic King Features characters. So you can see here if I bring the light down. Um, I have Flash Gordon, Mandrake the Magician, Lee Falk's Phantom up there. And then you come down to High and Lois, Beetle Bailey, and Sarge from Beetle Bailey. And if we go down, it is Prince Valiant. Actually, what I really think is nice, one of my favorite two, they're postcards right there. They're photos, but they're actually postcards of from the Charles Schultz Museum, and that's Schultz's studio and where he works. So I like to keep that around. So I'm looking at that Phantom anyway up there, and I think I gave him a bit shorter of a oh, you can't really see, sorry, of a torso than he probably needed. Um, and I probably made him a little more muscular, a little more modern day muscular, but I think it might be okay with what I'm doing. I mean, this isn't the final drawing that I got here. This is just what I'm currently playing with, you know. Um, and I can elongate the torso more and maybe lower the belt a little bit and maybe remove some of the muscle. Jeez, today is not my day already, you know. Um, so if I bring that in and just a little bit in over there, yes, classic Phantom is one of my favorites. I remember we didn't get when I was a kid. We didn't get the Phantom in the local newspaper that my parents got, but it was like I want to say like in the Daily News or something that when I'd go visit my dad's family, my uncle would always have the newspaper and read the comics, and we'd read them. He'd read them with me and read them together and stuff, and we'd draw out of them. But the Phantom was one of them that was always one of my favorites, and it was there, and I always enjoyed it. And then the cartoon Defenders of the Earth came out, and I was like, oh my god, I got more. I can learn more about the Phantom because he's now in a cartoon series, and he became again one of my favorites. Sorry, I dropped my water bottle. He became one of my favorites on that show, but they did make him supernatural, kind of when he would be the ghost who walks, calls forth the power of 10 tigers, and they'd give him this super strength, which he doesn't have in the comic at all. That is made up for the show, but the ghost who walks has the power of 10 tigers, or has the strength of 10 tigers, is an old jungle saying. So they would play off of that. So anyway, let's look. So one of the things I always had an issue with the Phantom was kind of his mask. The new ones now, when I look at that one, it kind of comes down straight, but the new ones, I know, kind of have this little indentation kind of by his cheekbone. And his eye mask was always kind of high. And he had a very like strong nose, very kind of wide. This cheek would come out over here. And I'll end up completing this digitally. Sure, a little bit more. I don't know. By the way, you guys watching, do you hear my mic picking up my fan right now? My mic's not staying steady; it keeps moving. So I don't know if the fan's getting picked up by it right now. Actually, I think I'm quite happy with this. When you look at the other, the picture I have hanging up again, I'm making the arms a bit more muscular than they were because he had, I mean, I don't know about today, but he had, almost normal human proportion there. I mean, it wasn't they didn't over exaggerate a lot on him, so his muscles weren't huge, but I do want to give him a bit more more of a more muscles. And I was going to draw as many as I felt I needed until I feel I got the hang of the character here, but I really think the stripes go this way. And in this picture, he doesn't have his guns. So I will play around with this. And when I draw him, I think I'm going to change up some of the perspective on him. Like you don't really see a lot of good muscle definition. Like, and maybe that was Lee Falk's you know time, because I mean this he came out what 19, I forgot what year. Superman was 38. Was 38. Batman was 39. The Phantom might have been 36 or 34, and or no, Mandrake I think came out first in 34. I don't know. I have to look that up. But I think he's been around since 36 and considered the first real costumed superhero. He was the first one to do the eyes, where they're white eyes instead of pupils seeing through. And during the same time, we had Prince Valiant, and if we look at Foster's work, his characters were more detailed, but their muscles weren't super huge either. But they were gorgeous. I mean, I have a book on the other side of the room of Foster's. And let's move this over here like that. And I'll have the skull right in there. But yeah, I think based on that original drawing, this isn't a bad piece. I don't want to go too thin on his body. Yeah. I do like this though a lot. So much I really don't think I need to do another piece unless I want to elongate his torso. How many had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? He's more animated. He's probably about 7 heads tall back then. I can't take him off the screen. You know what? Hold on 1 second. What it was here on this side. It's down there. Sorry, just give me 1 second if you can hear me. I thought I had something right here. Up here? Yes, they're up here on this shelf. Sorry. All right. I hope you guys didn't disappear. So I knew I had them on my shelf. I just saw them the other day, so I had an idea of what bookcase they were on. I have these 2 Phantom collections. This one, excuse me. This one is, we'll do the bottom one first here. 12/16/1940 to 7/12/1941. It is I believe this is a full story. It's been years since I read these. You can tell, how old these are. It's got some wear and tear on these book edges and whatnot. And I don't even remember when I bought these, but when I did, probably 99, because that's the year it says. So early 2000s, late 90s here. And I believe this is one full story, but it was the daily, so we could take a look and see the difference in here. And this is the story of the Phantom, like just his basic origin, so you know it. And I mean, I loved reading these. And I remember I used to draw out of them all the time, just sit and copy. You know. And we could see the type of poses. And one of the things I've always liked about it was when you look at the backgrounds compared to the Phantom or his wolf or whatever here, it's, he's really the only one in the shadow. The other characters, are just simple black and white. It makes, number one, it makes him pop, but also at the same time, I think it's a fun way if I wanted to go in color, which I did years ago. I scanned these in to practice coloring and see how it would look. But yeah, these are great here. Take a look. And this year was what? So this was after, right? That ended in July. Give me 1 second. July 12th, 1941. And then this is the next story, which is another 6 months. Check that out. These are gorgeous. And you can start seeing, though, they changed some of the stuff I just said. They changed how they did it in the comic. Some of the other guys would now have the zipatone effects in there. I think it depends on who he's with and how he is. If he's not in his costume and he has his glasses, I think they may use zipatone on other characters. This is just gorgeous stuff. Anyway, that was the Phantom. We need to. I think I need to work on his face now that I look at it. So let's just practice a Phantom's face. Let me get one of the books here. I'm just going to leave it on the side here. Let's bring this over. It still has that square jaw. All right. So the eyes, although they're usually triangular in the way they do them, and I don't know if that was something that changed a little bit, but this is a little more rounded here. So, and it took up the majority of his face. And like I said, he had this, well, the nose goes on the other side. It kind of is, I don't know what kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Nationality is he is. But he kind of has like a, I don't want to call it a broken nose, but it kind of feels that way sometimes, Just go in and check something out here. I'm just looking for some pictures of him to see. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of detail in him. But I do love the cartooniness. I know they went a little bit more as the strip went on. I don't want to use the term realistic, but the characters, I think, lost some of the cartooniness that the original strip had from Lee's style. Yeah, it just got more polished. But yeah, I'm just looking at how they're doing the eye masks as I go through this here. Because when I look at the eye mask, let me just make sure. Get my glasses on. It's a little more pointy, but I don't know. It's on the picture I have. Yeah, let's do that. We'll do one more, and then we'll draw another character. Let's get the head done. Let's move the paper up. I'm just gonna make it a little smaller so I can draw a bit of the body. We're just kind of gonna go with it's just all right. I'm kind of liking this a bit here. I'm not too happy with that nose, but I am going to kind of just elongate the body a little bit more on this one now. And remember, though, they were high-waisted, which I never understood that, mostly in comfort. How is wearing high-waisted stuff comfortable? You still see it. Actually, I think the younger generation is doing it now. I'm not going to have room to finish the legs, but actually, I think where's my eraser? I think the chest muscles wouldn't be so broad if we're going back to more of that classic era. I think they'd be a little higher up, right? And that's why we can elongate the barrel of the body there. If I thin out the arms a bit, which I see you can't see there. So then I'll just put the hand there. Yeah, I think this works for the Phantom. All right, there we go. I'm just going to stop him there. The next character I am going to pull up on my phone. I mean, some of these guys. Hold on. Oh, that's bad. My coffee's cold now. I might as well just go to my water bottle. Let's see. Hold on one second. I'm just going to see for you guys if I turn my light on, how that would that be better? Wow, this needs some. Not too much in my eyes. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, let me look up the next guy I want to do in here. And the next guy I'm going to look up is Hagar the Horrible. I love Hagar. Always been one of my favorites. Let me just go to images. And I got him on my phone. And I know he's not going to be in the exact position that I may not find, meaning I may not find a comic strip pose that is the exact position, but I do want him. I want a full body so I can see it, but um, I do want him holding one of his beers or ales or whatever you want to call it. So let's. There's actually a picture here. Let's see if my phone can focus in on it. All right, if I zoom in, I don't know how you guys can see it well. And I know the basic of drawing Hagar. I've drawn him a bunch of times, but I do use reference because there are things I forget, you know. But when you look at Dick Brown or his son's work, or even Mark Walker's, there's a cleanliness to it. But although I feel Dick's work was a little more sketchy, like specifically with the shading, than Mort was. I could be wrong. This is my interpretation of him. So, and I know they put one in the center here, one off on the side here. I know he's got a few of these, and I don't think they don't close it up when they ink. And one of the things I always notice is I've never seen his horns all that pointy, you know. But I think that was a little too much. But he's got his body kind of. Let's just get another picture. I can see his body better in. So yeah, his body has that kind of pear shape thing going on. I need him back in his uniform here, or his regular Viking garb, just so I can see the direction things go in. And kind of comes down his belly, and then it, like it's tied, and that's part of his. And this kind of scribbles down. And in this side, I'm going to just put his legs straight down, which I don't think you guys can see in this drawing here. They're just kind of ovals here, and he's got the X's going on. And if I look, because it's kind of got a torn shirt here. This one I'm just going to leave down at his side, and this one I'm going to bring in. And how do they draw him drinking? So they will use like a beer mug. And they'll have and then he's got all the shading of this is, for a quick Hagar, I don't think it's bad, but if you want to see good Hagar, that is what's it called? Drawn by a fan, and and I know he does some good work too. He's a professional, but he's a big Hagar fan. Go look up Matt Hansel's work. Hey, Dylan. Matt has got some gorgeous Hagar work, you know. That's great to hear, Dylan. Keep up the good work. I don't think I have much to do here on him. Maybe I'll just add some shading here and maybe some on the shoes. I know he does some. Let's put that here, and I know they do some on the feet. Maybe some on the arms. That's actually not bad for. Okay, I don't think I need to work on Hagar too much. You know who I am going to need to work on that, I think? Is Snoopy. I want him in the picture. And the one thing I feel a lot of people a lot of artists will say Schultz's work, although it looks simple, is never simple and one of the hardest things to draw. And in my opinion, I agree with them. I think what I'm going to do is kind of base it off of this here. So I do know his head, the top of his head is not as high. They got a big bump here. Doesn't really go out like that. It comes more like this. It's more like a bean, you know? At least the way I see it. And then this comes down out more into his ear. Right? And if we put, let's put his eyebrows up here, his pupils here, his nose right here, and then he'll have a mouth. Looks nothing like him. Terrible. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to start this time with kind of breaking it down into shapes. I tend to work better that way. And then off of here, he'd have his ear. That actually is looking already a little better here. And then he's got his collar and his body, which would go like this. Let me raise it so you can see it. All right. And I feel like the legs start off thin at the connection and then come up much larger there. You have this tail right here. So I'm just trying to think how I want to do his face. And he's got, what, 2 lines? They do 2 in each when he's like that? No, they just do 1 on this side here. And I know this will be in shadow a bit. This will have a little shadow. Let's erase over here now. And I mean, sometimes this is the best thing to do. Just break it down into the shapes, you know? That helps me all the time. Oh, who is this? I'm sorry, Saint Griffin, sorry. Yeah, I gotta set up a time, but yes, I will be interviewing Chris Hart. Chris Hart, hold on, has a new book He actually has a couple of new books. One of his most recent is a manga coloring book, which has some really beautiful artwork in there. The and I got a copy and I gave it to my wife because I don't spend, I don't have time to like just really sit and color for fun as a hobby. When I do that, I tend to sketch. I like that more to clear my head and do things. But my wife enjoys like the whole coloring book thing sometimes, and she enjoys manga style art. So I gave the book to her, and I know she's colored a couple of pages in there, and she likes the book a lot. Um, but she also has other hobbies. She does puzzles and things too. So, um, yeah. So she got that. He also has this big book of anime. I think it's called. Actually, hold on. I have it on my bookcase. I'll get it. Give you the actual. Hold on. Let me just share it. It's the big book of drawing anime, the complete step-by-step guide. And last time he was on my show, we spoke about this, and it takes you through the process in different types of styles and anime genres, right? It talks about character design. I think there's even, it's been a while since I went through the book, but yeah, he's got magic and fantasy characters, dystopian, talking about foreground and background and framing your characters, and talking about layouts and using perspective here. I actually really enjoy this picture a lot. So yeah, and he's got interviews in the back. It's a really nice book. If you're a Chris Hart fan or an anime fan, I highly recommend it. So yeah, let's get back to Snoopy here because I really think I'm done. It's just getting the eyes, the nose, like his face correct now. Oh, and St. Griffin, I don't know if it'll be in June. I'm going to try to make it in June. I have a few people I have to have on in June. Otherwise, I'm going to see if he can do July. So, but yeah, no, I'm hoping to get him on in June. So let's. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at pictures of Snoopy. Yeah, let's. I mean, I know this is a typical pose, but let's do it where his eyes kind of down here. That's one. That's another. And the eyebrows tend to be up here with his nose kind of not too far away, and then his mouth. It's not bad. I just don't like the nose. This is why I like I draw usually higher up, so it's like on my eye level. Also, my pencil lines are a lot smoother than the way Snoopy or just Peanuts in general is inked towards the, you know, last however many years, so. Yeah, no, I think this will be the version I may use for the piece. All right. Snoopy wasn't as hard as it was. Maybe it's the humans that are terrible to draw or difficult. I don't want to say terrible. Now, the other one that I'm going to have on here was Space Ghost. Now, Space Ghost, I could pretty much draw him without looking at anything, and I could also kind of get that Toth style. I studied Toth's work for years, Alex. So at one point, I would consider myself kind of a Toth thief, where or just a. I don't even want to go with the word impersonator because no one can impersonate his work, but I was highly influenced at one point by I'll even add that little outline they have here. Um, at one time, I was highly influenced by Told, and I still am. I mean, a lot of my style back in the '90s. One of the things that really influenced me was Batman the animated series, and Bruce Timm in creating a style looked at Alex Toth's work, looked at the Fleischer Superman. So like all those type of comic art that was or cartoons those were the ones that influenced me a lot. And one of the things about drawing these characters that I love um, is how simple they are. That's why I tend to lean towards that style here. And I know I'm not putting them in any like dynamic poses or anything. And it's like, well, can Michael draw a dynamic pose? Yeah, you know what, I can. But one of the things that I do when I'm drawing, right, um, is I like to draw them just in a standing pose for now, a typical pose, because one of the things, and I don't know if this is my training as an animator, working and building puppets and sculpture and stuff, but I can imagine what and I think most good artists who understand, I don't want to say anatomy but structure of the human body, or at least understand just movement and drawing, you could hold on, let me sharpen so you don't pencil sharpener here. You could turn the body in different directions and not have to just start in that dynamic pose or whatever. Just I'm gonna do it. I draw it basic, and I get the idea of, okay, this is his costume, this is his body, and then I could say, and I'll do it down here, just a quick doodle, and be like, oh, I want him. Let's see. Let's just say we'll start. This will be his torso, and then I could say, oh, I want the body to turn. Let's put his. I know it looks straight right now, but I'm going to put his chest out that way. Right, stomach over here, and let's get that arm over here. This arm would be up because I'm looking at the tilt here. So this leg would probably be back. This would be the forward leg. So that arm, if that leg is back, this would probably be the forward arm, right? And there we go. And, I was able to turn the body. So, um, you know, and that's kind of how I just start. So I have like reference photos that I make myself in my own style, or with the character that I'm using. So, and this was going to be the last character, but I did want to add one more because I'm taking characters that I've loved my whole life, but also I want to take things from that people might recognize. So I'm going to pull from a manga, or anime, whichever you want to look at it as, and I think I might add Goku to the picture. Now, I have told the story probably on my show. Some of it I know I didn't tell on the show, but I'm a fan of Akira Toriyama's work, but I was never a Dragon Ball fan, or at least a Dragon Ball Z fan. And a few months back, because I was I was doing artist studies, and with Akira Toriyama's work, I really loved his vehicles, and I even picked up um, Sandland because, and this is the only one I have. I have the Shonen Jump app. I believe I can read it on there, but I wanted to actually hold the book and look at the artwork up close and study things. Like I just passed an amazing tree, which I don't know if I'll be able to find, but like I'll look at things like that and just copy. Like look at those, look at that tree right there. I'll just spend time copying and looking at it and tracing and knowing that's the stuff I like. Um, but I started, just because I fell in love with his work, and again, well, I don't want to say fell in love, but re-fell in love with his work, being older now. And I started doing artist studies, and it was of his vehicles, and I started getting into his character design, which I always enjoyed. And I ended up going on Crunchyroll and watching the original Dragon Ball, and I really enjoyed it. And I gotta say, a lot of the scenes I actually remembered. So I'm like, I watched this when I was young. I don't know how old I was, but there's a story I tell on my show where when I was a kid, there was an anime that I can't remember what it was, but there's a guy in like a blue furry kind of cloak, and he has a giant sword, and he's walking in the snow, and I can never remember what it is. And then watching Dragon Ball, the original one, I'm like, maybe it was Dragon Ball, and I got the a little bit of it wrong, but I remembered the blue jacket. And in the episodes where Goku, when he was a kid, was fighting the Red Ribbon Army, he was in a blue like winter coat, and he had his power pole on his back, and he was in snow. And I'm like, is this what I'm really remembering? That the faraway scene of him walking through the snow in this blue jacket. So I'm like, that might be it. Anyway, I started Dragon Ball Z after I finished that series. And although I get and understand why people loved it so much, I prefer the original over Z. And I explained this to a couple of friends recently. To me, Z is everybody just kind of waiting around for Goku to come and save the day, while everybody else is just trying to figure out how to power up to fight someone. It was almost like comparable that you have a bunch of Green Lanterns constantly recharging their ring for more power while they wait for Superman. That's how I feel. But I've been so many episodes in, I'm like in 160 something, 170 right now, that I'm like, I need to see how it ends, the storyline. And I was even told if I read the manga, I'll get through it quicker. I just don't have time, and I watch it while I draw, and do my work. So, but I would love to read the manga when I can. I think reading it in manga form might be more interesting to me. I actually prefer to read the manga than to watch the anime. Oh, and by the way, there's a new manga out recently that I picked up. Little Mega Man. I believe it came out this year. Because I know number 2 is coming out, I believe, in August. I haven't started it yet. Sorry, it goes this way. They put the cover like this, but you have to hold it this way. And being the Mega Man fan that I am, I had to pick this up. I love this this piece here. I love these. I love the artwork. I love when Mega Man is small like this. So I'm looking forward to reading this. This might be what I start reading at night or with my morning coffee. Um, so yeah, this hopefully this is fun. I'm hoping. I don't know, but it looks good. Looks like could be a fun story. We'll see if I buy book two. So I'm just reading the back. In this wacky new take on the Blue Bombers' early days, our hero encounters classic robots such as Platform Man, Nostradamus, Comfy Chairman. Wait, why is Rush a real dog? And is that bad box art, Little Mega Man? It's all out zany adventures in Little Mega Man. So we'll see what happens when I read this. All right. Um, that was a bad job of me reading. Anyway, let's get Goku. And I know there's a lot. I'll do. I like him as a little kid, but more people probably know him as an adult, right? Let's see the Son Goku. Let's go to images on here, and let's find a reference. Let's look at this little one of him here. What I do with my pencil? Where did I put it now? Ah, here it is. So this is one of the things I love, and I have this style when I draw. I don't want to call them chibi characters, but when I draw like kids or young kids, I really thought it came from watching like Hanna-Barbera cartoons. But the more and more I watched the original Dragon Ball, the more and more I feel like I took this from Dragon Ball when I was a kid. Because my heads and the way I do the heads of these characters are very, very similar to how Toriyama did it, and he's got a much simpler indentation here, and how it's a lot. And his eyes are always big. That's Let's give him a little smile. Okay. And then he has his giant ear. And this, just looking at comments, guys. Oh, and Sacred, I just saw you said thanks for your videos. Thank you for watching. And I gotta zoom in on the ear. His ear, I never got how Toriyama did ears. It's not a simple. It's never been a simple thing for me. Not that I don't know how to draw ears, just his version of ears was always a little weird. And I know sometimes you could see a bit of the other ear on the other side. And now we're going to come in and this is the big thing. His hair, let's actually make it a little bigger over here, right? And he'll have the 3 points. One, I don't know, is one longer here? Yeah. And then he's going to have one here, right? And a little bit coming down here. We'll have another one here. We'll have a big one. And then that'll come down into the hair here, and then he'll have. I'm going to have to push the camera back a little bit just so you can see his hair. Let's pull the camera back a bit. And just kind of quickly do this here. I think I kind of got his face, right? And this actually would kind of be more here. I think I need to lower his ear. I think that's the problem that I'm seeing. But his body is very much this. And let's make it just because he's got his baggy clothing on here. You know, I found the original much more comedic, which I think made me like it a little bit more. I mean, there's some things I laugh at Dragon Ball Z for, but it's not as funny. It's not as fun, you know? At least to me. I know everyone has their opinions. I will look at. You know, it's funny. I don't watch the show every day. I'm binging it when I watch it because I put it on while I'm working. But if I watch or really more listen to 4 to 5 episodes a day, that might be a lot. That's got to be picked up. You haven't even been looking at the legs I've been doing. You've just been hearing that noise, right? I'm going to run out of room on here. Yeah, it's really just that ear, I think, that threw it off. Let's bring that ear down, right? That broke a point. Hold on. Let's bring the ear down like that. And it comes up and in, and then over here it comes out. That's about it right there. Kind of got the hang of it. Not the best, but I still think that's a weird looking ear, you know? I feel like that looks a lot better already. And let me get... what I would do I mean, it all depends on how the picture goes. But what I would probably do if I was to add add him in an action pose would probably have him on his Nimbus. Bring that up. This fist as well. I don't like the way the arm is here. I have to put it back in another pose. But right now, just for our first round, not bad. Not bad at all. You know what? Maybe if I could put that in, and can't forget about, I was just talking about the power pole. So my pole would be there. I don't think we see it behind him. I'd have to look up the symbol though that goes here. I forget. He's got so many, right? Well, not so many, but he's used a few throughout the time. I'm going to give him one more shot. Actually, you know what? I think he's good. I just need to get that ear placed correctly. Oh, wow, it's already 2:06. I'm going to roughly lay out what I'm thinking for my drawing, and I'm going to do it this way. And let me get a piece of tape. Where is my tape? I'm going to loosely rough out what I'm thinking for this piece here. And if I need to, I'll go behind me and get my my reference. But I need to eat soon, so I'm not going to be much longer. Oh, God. Oops. Let's bring this up just a bit more. Now, one of the things where I'm looking at this here, it's actually going to be a portrait. I should have held it the other way, but sometimes I don't like to work that way. And I really want a line of kind of perspective. Some of the character, the characters kind of looking very, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like they're giants, like you're looking up into, almost in fear of them, which you shouldn't be. They're heroes and everything, and they're fun, but all right, let's just make that a little larger. This will just help me plan a little bit more. All right, let's make this kind of ground level, I guess, right around here. No, let's lower it even more. Let's lower the ground level there. So then this way, the Phantom, this will be his head right here, right? It's okay if he gets cut off. I'm actually thinking I might put the bottom into shadows and just kind of have a little bit of a wavy line that cuts into them. And all this is, just black. Let's have the body turn this way. Traditional Phantom pose. And I will add more into that. Let's keep his hand here. But next to him, I was thinking I would do Hagar. Give him a little smile. And you know what I'm going to do? I think I might put him holding the beer up here. I'm gonna leave that idea of the shadow down there. I like that a lot. So the Phantom, you'd see his nostrils like this. See his chin. His eyes would be going in the other direction, maybe. Here's my eraser. I gotta fix that. I think I might do it the other way. But it does work, you know? If I decide not to go with the shadow down here, um, I'm going to, I'll make his body a little longer so he's not just floating in space. Their feet will be hitting around the same area. So after him was Snoopy, right? And we'll have Snoopy. That's him looking down. I want him looking up. Where's my needed? Here it is. I need my needed eraser. And I'll do that pose I had. Well, actually, the eyes would be down here. His eyebrows would be up here, right? We're just going to kind of keep that. And he might be even smaller than this because Snoopy's a dog. He shouldn't be as tall as everyone, but he will be bigger. Who did I do after? I had Space Ghost, right? And let's move him over so we can see more of his face. This would be Space Ghost here. And it looks like I don't have room for Goku, right? But there is no reason. I feel like he's more like that, not off that perspective. And he's kind of going off like that. I have to play with the perspective again. But I did want to put Goku in there. So if I do, like I said, the Kid Goku, he could be either right here, or I can have him up here, out on his Nimbus. So this is kind of what I'm thinking now for the layout. I kind of like him standing. I like everybody kind of looking intimidating, even though Snoopy and Hagar is not going to look intimidating at all. But I also like the idea of him on his Nimbus. Sorry, I'm just thinking. There is a saying that's going to go on here, so that might just happen, like right in this area here. Anyway, guys, this is what I'm thinking. But my brain needs food right now, so I may not be thinking as well as I would like to be. So yeah, I'm gonna go eat lunch. I am then going to bring this. I'm gonna do this probably in Procreate. I'm much more Clip Studio Paint person, but I think this might be fun to try and Procreate. I'm not a master of the software. Excuse me. I have a lot of friends who use it full time professionally. I've watched videos. I know how to get around. I know how to use it. I'm just more comfortable in Clip Studio Paint. But it might be a fun experiment to give this a try and see. Especially because, like, when I'm in Clip Studio. I basically use either the real G Pen or the G Pen, which is a smoother one. I tend to be more smoother with my work, but every artist here used a different type of pen, you know. So specifically for Goku, I know Toriyama used, I believe, a G Pen for it, um, the Zebra brand. I have to look up what everyone else used here, but these are all dip pens here. And Space Ghost was animation, so back then they were probably using a paintbrush and just a clean line, so they can color and paint over it very well. So there wasn't much sketchiness like you would find in one of these or any of these, where they can have some roughness to their line. So I haven't decided, do I want to ink them to try to copy the inking style, or do I want to you know just do it the way I draw and use a smooth brush. Again, haven't decided. We're going to see. But anyway, with that, I'm going to end it now. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks everyone who asked questions and commented. It was good seeing everybody. If you're watching this later, that's awesome. I will show the finished piece when it's done. It won't be done today, just so you know. But yeah. I know. I just look tired. I'm sorry. I woke up. It's funny. I woke up at 5:30 with a lot of energy, and then I was doing work. I started drawing around 7 this morning, and then my cat decided, oh, it's time that he wakes up and to bother the hell out of me. And it wasn't until I got back into bed and he cuddled in, with me, like he curled up into my arm and stuff, and he fell asleep. That I ended up falling asleep again. Next thing I know, it was like 9:30. So I think I might have slept too much, but yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I will be back with a Get in Tune this Wednesday. It'll be with Eli Hernandez, David Abrevea, and Enoch Easel, everybody who's been on the show before. We have some fun stuff to chat about. So yeah, I'll see you guys Wednesday night, and I might have a special show if I can work it out. I'd like to get a friend reached out, and I'd love to talk about his project. I think it looks really cool. So we'll see if I can do a special one this week. I just don't know my schedule. I'm getting ready for a convention. I'm getting ready to do a speaking engagement. So yeah, that's it, guys. I will see you all later. You have a great rest of your day, and see you soon. Bye, guys.